Elias Ward had always enjoyed quiet mornings, even when those mornings took place millions of kilometers away from Earth. Aboard the alien flagship called the Varuan Crest, every day began with soft blue lights glowing along the hallways, and a warm humming sound coming from the energy reactors deep inside the ship. For Elias, this peaceful routine had become normal, even comforting. He was the only human living on the ship, but he had never felt alone. The alien crew respected him, even if they did not always understand him, and he tried his best to return that respect every day. On this particular morning, Elias was working inside one of the maintenance chambers, repairing a damaged circuit panel from the ship's food synthesizer. It was simple work, something he could do with his eyes half closed. He hummed quietly to himself as he connected a glowing cable to the new power node. The cable warmed in his hand, and the node flickered to life with a soft pulse. He nodded with satisfaction. Fixing things was what he loved most. Machines felt honest to him. They gave clear signals when something was wrong, and they always responded when handled with care. Just as he finished, his wrist communicator buzzed. The message that appeared on the tiny screen was short but urgent. Written in the alien language he had learned over the past year. Report to the central chamber immediately. Priority high. He frowned. The central chamber was only used for important decisions or ship-wide emergencies. Elias wiped his hands on a cloth and hurried out of the maintenance room, walking fast through the wide hallway. Aliens of different shapes and colors passed him, all showing unusual tension. Their eyes flicked toward him as he moved, as if they were expecting him. He did not understand why. When he reached the central chamber, the massive door slid open, and he stepped inside carefully. The room was huge, with a circular floor and tall, glowing pillars rising upward like giant trees. The air inside felt heavier than usual, as if it carried nervous energy. Dozens of alien officers stood in a wide circle, talking softly among themselves. When Elias entered, the whispers stopped. At the center of the room stood Commander Thalvina, the highest-ranking officer of the ship and one of the most respected leaders in the Varuan fleet. Her tall, elegant frame was covered in silver and blue armor, and her bright violet eyes fixed on Elias as soon as she noticed him. She held a serious expression, the kind she used only when discussing matters that would affect the whole crew. Elias slowed his steps. Something important had happened, something big enough that an entire alien fleet felt uneasy. Elias Ward, Thalvina said, her voice steady but carrying weight. Thank you for coming quickly. We have encountered a problem that none of our engineers can solve. What kind of problem? Elias asked, confused but ready to help. Thalvina turned slightly, and the crowd around them parted to reveal something resting on an elevated platform. The object looked like a large suit of armor, but nothing like what Elias had seen before. It had smooth silver plates that reflected the chamber's blue light and elegant curves that gave it an almost lifelike shape. But the armor was heavily damaged. Deep cracks ran across the chest, and parts of the inner energy system were exposed and flickering weakly like a dying heartbeat. Elias felt taken aback. He had never seen such technology before. What is that? He asked quietly. Thalvina took a breath before speaking. This is the starbound exoshell, an ancient artifact discovered decades ago. Our people have studied it for many years, but even our best engineers could not fully understand its structure. We used it only for ceremonial purposes because it is too delicate to activate. Today, after the unexpected energy storm we encountered, the armor suffered catastrophic damage. Elias stepped closer, drawn by curiosity. The armor radiated a faint glow, and strange symbols appeared etched along the sides, symbols that were unfamiliar but somehow felt close. Thalvina continued, her voice lower now. Our engineers studied the damage all morning. They agree on one thing. If the armor is not repaired soon, its core will fail completely. And if that happens, it will take centuries before it regenerates, if it ever does. Elias didn't look away from the armor. Why call me? You have more than 100 engineers on this ship. They understand your technology better than I ever could. The room fell silent for a moment. Then Thalvina spoke the words that made every alien in the chamber stare at Elias with strange hope. Because, she said slowly, the armor does not respond to us. It reacts only to human touch. Elias blinked in surprise. Only to humans? But why? We do not know, Talvina admitted. We only know that whenever our people tried to examine the deeper layers of the exoshell, the core shielded itself. But yesterday, one of your tools was found near the armor after the storm, and the core flickered in response. The energy pattern shifted. As if recognizing something familiar, Elias moved closer and examined the crack along the chest. The inner wiring was delicate, almost organic. It pulsed weakly, as if alive. When he raised his hand to touch a loose cable, the glow brightened slightly. The aliens around him gasped. Elias pulled his hand back quickly, stunned. It reacted. Yes, Talvina said. Only for you. The weight of her words settled heavily in Elias's chest. He had never been given a task this important before, not here. Not anywhere. He was a simple engineer, someone who tightened bolts, fixed circuits, and solved small problems with patience and steady hands. But now, an entire alien fleet was turning toward him with hope because of something only he could do. Talvina stepped forward and lowered her voice. Elias. We believe this armor carries human design patterns within its deeper structure. Some of our ancient legends speak of a time when humans were more advanced than they are now. We do not know if those legends are true. But if this artifact truly responds to you, then you may be the only being alive who can repair it. Elias swallowed hard. The armor seemed to pulse again, as if calling him. He took another slow step forward, studying the cracks and exposed pieces. The damage was extensive, but not impossible. The energy circuits were woven in complex loops, like threads of light spinning together. It reminded him of early human prototypes he had studied in old digital archives designs that used intuition rather than perfect equations. This armor shared that same spirit. It was too natural, too emotional, too human to be fully alien. I won't make promises, Elias said softly, keeping his eyes on the armor. But I can try. Talvina nodded, relief visible in her expression. That is all we ask. We will give you complete access to the chamber and all necessary tools. The armor will be under your care. Elias reached out again, placing his hand gently on the cracked section. This time, the glow rose steadily, spreading across the entire suit. The symbols along its sides brightened. The aliens murmured in amazement. Talvina stared, her voice barely above a whisper now. It recognizes you. Elias felt a strange warmth under his palm. Not from heat but from connection. It was as if the armor understood him, trusted him, and waited patiently to be healed. He exhaled slowly as he withdrew his hand and turned to Talvina. Her expression was serious, yet hopeful. Commander, he said, steadying himself. Tell me everything you know about this armor. Every detail. Every guess. Every legend. Talvina nodded and gestured for the officers to bring data tablets. As they approached, she spoke again. Her voice filled with quiet resolve. The future of this ship may depend on you, Elias Ward. Elias looked back at the glowing armor. He did not know why it responded to him, or what mystery lay inside its ancient heart. But he knew one thing clearly. He was going to fix it. And this was only the beginning. Elias spent the next hour studying every piece of information the alien officers brought to him. The data tablets were filled with old reports, scanned diagrams, and unfinished translations of symbols found inside the armor. Many of the documents were decades old, written by engineers who had long retired. Some notes were messy, handwritten, and confused. Others were neatly organized but ended with phrases like, unable to understand further, or core refuses access. Talvina stood beside Elias the entire time, patiently answering his questions. She explained how the armor had been found, floating inside a broken asteroid. Untouched for centuries, the asteroid had been part of an old battlefield, though no one knew which species had once fought there. The armor was discovered in perfect condition, as if waiting, but when the aliens tried to activate it, it shut itself down. Now, after yesterday's energy storm, something inside it had awakened just enough to start failing. When Elias finished reading the documents, He rubbed the back of his neck thoughtfully. Everything pointed toward one thing. The armor was far more advanced than anything the Va'ruun engineers had ever built. It wasn't just a machine. It had a kind of awareness. A way of choosing when to open and when to close. And for reasons no one understood, it chose him. Thalvina watched him closely. Do you see something the others did not? Elias walked slowly around the armor, observing each crack, each symbol, each dim pulse of light. He crouched beside the open section near the waist, where the internal wiring was most exposed. The cables were extremely thin. Glowing softly with faint blue currents, they shimmered like living veins. I don't know yet, he said honestly, but there's something familiar in the way this was built. Humans used to design things with emotion, not just logic. Our oldest machines weren't perfect, but they were intuitive. This armor feels like that. It reacts to intention more than touch. Thalvina looked puzzled. Emotion? In engineering? Our designs follow exact patterns. That's the difference. Elias replied gently. Human engineering used to follow the heart, as well as the mind. Elias reached into the open section and lightly touched one of the glowing threads. It brightened again. Responding to him as if greeting him, he felt a small warm pulse against his fingertip. Not harmful, not threatening, just aware. Aliens around him murmured softly in disbelief. Thalvina stepped closer. It reacts to you so easily. For us, those cables remained dim and cold. Elias kept working, examining another damaged part. These circuits are not broken, he said after a moment. They're scared. The aliens stared at him. What does that mean? Thalvina asked, confused yet curious. I mean, Elias explained. The armor shut itself down during the storm. It's protecting itself. It's not failing because it's broken. It's failing because it's trying to hide. The energy storm probably triggered old memories or warnings inside its core. He paused, letting the idea settle. If humans made this, or if humans helped make it, then it might respond only to human patterns. It senses intention, not skill. That's why your engineers never got access. Thalvina considered this. Could you open the core? Elias exhaled slowly. I can try. He examined the central chest plate, where the largest crack ran diagonally. Below that crack was a small circular indentation, a core hatch. Thalvina explained that dozens of Va'ruun engineers had attempted to open it with specialized tools. But every attempt had failed. The hatch simply refused to unlock. Elias placed his palm on top of the indentation. Instantly, the armor's glow brightened. The symbols around the core lit up like a ring of small stars. A soft tone sounded, almost musical. The hatch loosened beneath his hand, shifting slightly. The aliens gasped. Elias pulled his hand back, shocked. It responded again. Try again, Thalvina said quietly. He did. This time, he kept his hand steady and calm, focusing on the idea of helping the armor, not opening it by force. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a gentle click, the core hatch slid open by itself. Even Elias stepped back in surprise. Inside the opened compartment was a glowing sphere the size of a small fruit. It floated gently, held in place by thin energy strands that pulsed slowly. The sphere emitted a warm light, soft, golden, peaceful. It looked nothing like the technology the aliens used. It looked almost alive. Thalvina's voice was barely above a whisper. This is the first time anyone has seen the core. It has never opened for us. Not once. Elias felt a mix of wonder and responsibility. Then we need to be careful. He slowly reached forward and studied the connections. The core wasn't damaged, but the energy strands around it were weak. Some strands flickered, some were loose, and others were twisted. Elias recognized the pattern immediately. It was similar to an old human power circulation design he had studied during his training. A way of moving energy through a system like blood through a body. This is incredible, Elias murmured. Whoever built this knew how humans think about machines. He gently pressed a strand back into place. It pulsed brighter. Another strand flickered when he touched it, then steadied. The aliens around him watched in silence, holding their breath each time he made a tiny adjustment. After several minutes, the core's glow grew stronger and more even. The warm, golden light filled the inside of the chamber, casting soft reflections on the surrounding walls. Thalvina finally spoke. "What are you doing?" It seemed so simple. Elias didn't look away from his work. "I'm just helping it relax. This armor is like a person who's been frightened for a long time. Its systems are tense, they're resisting. But once it feels safe, it starts to open up." Thalvina listened closely. "Can machines feel safe? If they're built like this," Elias answered. "Yes." He worked carefully for nearly an hour. Each adjustment seemed to strengthen the armor's internal energies. Some parts began lighting up with clean, stable color. The cables that once flickered now glowed steadily. At one point, when Elias pressed a delicate connection into place, the armor emitted a gentle sound like a sigh. The whole room fell silent as the glow spread through the suit, making every plate shine with soft blue and gold light. Elias stepped back, breathing heavily. "It's waking up." Thalvina stared at the armor, as if seeing it for the first time in her life. "This technology, it feels ancient, but alive. It's learning to trust again," Elias said calmly. He examined the indicators on the inside of the armor. Many lights were now stable, but a few still flashed weakly. He pointed at them. "These areas still need repairs. Some parts are loose, some circuits are burned. I'll need new components." "You may request anything needed," Thalvina said quickly. "Our engineers will assist you." Elias nodded. "I can do the delicate work alone, but I'll need your people to prepare tools and clean replacement wires." "We will begin immediately," she said. She turned and ordered the officers to gather supplies. They rushed out, eager to help. Elias remained beside the armor, watching the patterns shift slowly like calm waves. The more he studied it, the stronger one thought became in his mind. This armor carried human influence, maybe not entirely human, but connected to humanity in a deep, mysterious way. Thalvina returned to his side. Her voice was soft, almost thoughtful. "Elias, you said earlier that this design feels familiar. Do you think your ancestors helped build it?" "I don't know," Elias answered honestly. "But someone who understood humans very well definitely did. And why would they hide such knowledge for centuries?" she asked. "That's the question I'm trying to understand." He placed his hand once more on the armor's chest. The glow brightened instantly, as if recognizing him again. It felt warm, welcoming. Thalvina watched with quiet amazement. "It trusts you." Elias smiled faintly. "Then I won't let it down." As he turned to gather more tools, the armor emitted a final soft pulse of golden light. It was almost like a heartbeat, and it was growing stronger. Elias returned to the central chamber early the next morning. He had barely slept, but he didn't feel tired. His mind was too full. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the armor's glowing core pulsing like a small, golden heart. It was the first machine he had ever met that felt almost alive. Not alive in the way a human was, but alive in purpose, in memory, in intention. When he entered the chamber, he found several alien engineers already waiting for him. They had laid out tools, cables, cleaning supplies, and energy stabilizers exactly as he had requested. Their excitement was visible, even though they tried to look professional. The news had spread across the entire ship. The human engineer had awakened the ancient armor, something no Varuan engineer had done in decades. Thalvina arrived a few minutes later, walking with her usual steady grace. She greeted Elias with a small nod. "The crew is ready to assist you in whatever you need." Many stayed awake through the night to prepare. Elias felt a warm sense of gratitude. "Thank you. I'll try to make progress today." He approached the armor again. The glow was stronger than yesterday. The core pulsed calmly, filling the inside of the chamber with soft light. The symbols along the armor's plates shifted slowly, as if greeting him. Elias placed his hand on the chest plate. The glow brightened. responding instantly. A gentle vibration pulsed through his palm. "It knows you're here," Thalvena said quietly. "Or maybe," Elias replied. "It's trying to guide me." He began working carefully. The first task was to repair the upper energy channels behind the shoulder plates. These channels were responsible for stabilizing the armor's internal balance, allowing its systems to remain aligned even during heavy activity. Without them, the armor's core would overheat. Elias cleaned the damaged channels slowly. As he worked, the armor reacted to every movement, sometimes brightening, sometimes softening its glow. It felt like the armor was communicating through light. While adjusting one of the glowing cables, Elias suddenly froze. The cable hummed in a pattern he recognized. Short pulse, long pulse, short pulse. He blinked in surprise. "That's a human energy code," he said aloud. Thalvena stepped closer. "What do you mean?" "This pattern," Elias explained, tapping the cable lightly. "It's based on an old Earth system. A very old one. Before humans even joined space travel, almost no one uses this code anymore except historians." Thalvena looked at the armor with newfound amazement. "So the connection to humanity is even deeper than we thought." "It might be older than any of us imagined," Elias said quietly. He continued adjusting the cables. As he worked, the armor responded to him more strongly. The patterns in the glow seemed to shift into organized rhythms. Elias didn't know how, but he could understand the rhythms instinctively. It felt like listening to a familiar song he had forgotten long ago. Thalvena watched him for several minutes before speaking again. "Elias, do you feel anything unusual? Any discomfort? Any strange reaction from the core?" Elias shook his head. "No discomfort. Just clarity. Every time I touch the armor, I feel like it's trying to show me what to do." "As if guiding you?" she asked. "Yes," he said, "guiding me exactly." He moved to the lower section of the armor, where the energy junction rested. This part was the most fragile. Many of the strands were tangled, as if they had twisted during the storm. The moment Elias touched the junction, the glow faltered. The room fell silent. Thalvena stepped forward quickly. "Is something wrong?" Elias gently examined the junction. "It's in pain." The aliens exchanged confused looks. Machines didn't feel pain, but this one reacted as if it did. Elias placed his hand over the junction, focusing on calming the energy flow. Slowly, the glow stabilized. "It's okay," he whispered, even though he knew the armor couldn't hear him like a person. But somehow, it felt like it understood. He worked slowly, untangling the delicate strands. Each time he straightened one, the armor pulsed softly. Each time he realigned a connection, the glow brightened. The chamber grew warmer, filled with the gentle rhythm of the core. After nearly 2 hours of careful work, the entire lower section was stable again. Elias stepped back, stretching his arms. Thalvena studied the armor in awe. "It looks whole." "Not yet," Elias said, "but close." As he prepared to work on the final section, the neural synchronization node the armor suddenly emitted a soft chime. Not like a malfunction, not like an alarm. It was a warm, melodic sound that resonated through the chamber. Everyone went silent. "What was that?" Thalvena asked. Elias shook his head slowly. "I think it's trying to activate something." The light in the core brightened, and the symbols along the armor shifted rapidly. Elias stepped closer and placed his hand on the armor's shoulder. The lights slowed, becoming calm again. "It listens to you," Thalvena said. Elias nodded. "It recognizes human intention." He focused on the neural synchronization node, a small circular module near the base of the armor's neck. The node allowed the armor to connect with its user once fully activated. The alien engineers had spent years studying it and had never been able to activate even a fraction of its abilities. Elias reached for the node, but before he could touch it, the armor's glow gathered toward the node as if expecting him. When his fingers made contact, a surge of warm light traveled up his arm. Not painful, but surprising. Elias took a sharp breath. Elias! Thalvina stepped forward. Are you all right? He nodded slowly. Yes. It's okay. It's showing me something. Images formed in his mind, not clear images, not fully visible, but shapes, patterns, sensations. He saw glimpses of old laboratories, human hands working beside alien hands, sketches of designs, strange symbols, and something like a handshake between species. But the images vanished before he could understand them fully. Elias pulled his hand away, breathing deeply. It's sharing memories. Thalvina looked at him with wide eyes. Memories of who? I don't know, he said softly. But they were human and alien. Working together, he returned his focus to the node. Carefully, he adjusted the alignment and tightened the stabilizing clamps. As he did, the armor began emitting a soft humming sound, like a calm heartbeat. The lights throughout the armor shifted from weak blue to warm gold, then settled into a steady blend of both colors. The alien engineers murmured in amazement. Thalvina spoke softly. Is it waking up fully? Elias stepped back. Almost. One more adjustment. He placed his hand on the chest plate one final time. The glow brightened throughout the entire suit. The air became warm. The core pulsed once, twice, then settled into a stable rhythm. And then, something unexpected happened. A soft voice, faint, distant, almost like a whisper, filled the chamber. It wasn't in any known alien language. It wasn't exactly English either. It was more like an echo of many languages woven together, but Elias understood it. Human. Connection restored. His breath caught. The aliens froze. Thalvina looked at Elias. What did it say? Elias swallowed. It recognized me. The armor's glow flickered again. A new symbol appeared on its surface, a symbol that looked unmistakably human. A symbol that had been used in Earth's earliest advanced engineering programs. Elias stared at the symbol in disbelief. This armor is part human, or was built by someone who deeply understood humans. Thalvina looked at him with deep respect. Then, the legends might be true. Humans once shaped more of the galaxy than any of us knew. Before Elias could respond, the chamber lights flickered. A new signal appeared on the ship's sensors, a distant pulse coming from deep space. Not threatening, not hostile, but unmistakably connected to the armor. Elias felt the hairs rise on the back of his neck. Something noticed the activation, he said quietly. Thalvina stared at him. What does that mean, Elias? He looked at the glowing armor, at the symbol pulsing softly along its plates. It means this armor was never meant to stay asleep. The next morning arrived with a cold silence over the human base on Meridian 6. The sky stayed dark even after sunrise, because the alien clouds moved slowly like thick smoke. Adrian stepped outside and felt the heavy air touch his face. He knew the final moment was close. The ancient alien network was waking up fully, and it could either destroy everything or help save billions of lives. Every human on the planet looked at Adrian with hope, but he did not feel like a hero. He felt like a man standing between two storms. Jonas and Lena were already waiting near the entrance of the control chamber. Both looked tired but determined. Jonas had not slept all night because he was fixing the last faults in their power system. Lena carried a small device that she built to translate the harmonic signals from the alien core. She walked next to Adrian with calm steps, but inside, she feared everything would fall apart if a single mistake happened. The control chamber opened with a deep mechanical sound. The alien blue light inside the chamber slowly brightened, like the machine was breathing. The core stood in the center, floating above a metallic ring. It looked alive now, with glowing veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Adrian stared at it, knowing this could be the moment humans were judged by something far older than their species. Cassian arrived moments later, leading his people from the alien Cathari faction. They believed activating the core could restore balance to the galaxy, but they also feared humans would try to use it for themselves. Cassian moved with soft steps and stopped right in front of Adrian. His tall figure and calm silver eyes made him look like a silent guardian of fate. "Are you ready?" Cassian asked in a gentle but firm voice. Adrian nodded. We do this together. No one gets left behind. Cassian accepted the answer with a small bow of respect. It had taken a long journey, many arguments, and some battles for him to finally trust Adrian. But now, this cooperation felt like the only real hope. The chamber doors shut behind them, locking all of them inside. The temperature dropped. The air hummed softly. A bright circle appeared on the floor around the core. Lena checked her device and signaled Adrian to stand on the center mark. Jonas moved to the power control panel. Cassian and two Cathari scientists took their positions near the translation nodes. Adrian stepped into the center. His heart beat hard in his chest. The moment he touched the marked circle, a warm wave traveled through his boots and up into his spine. The core responded instantly. Its bright veins glowed brighter and brighter, until the chamber filled with a deep blue light. A sound like distant singing echoed all around them, soft but powerful. Lena activated her translator, and symbols projected through the air. They rotated slowly like floating dust of light. She studied them quickly and said, "It's working. The core is speaking." Cassian approached the symbols too. His eyes widened as he recognized the ancient patterns. It is calling for a stabilizer. It needs a living mind to align its memory. Adrian understood immediately. You mean it needs someone to connect with it fully? Cassian nodded. It will not choose randomly. It chooses the one who has touched its heart. And that is you. Adrian felt the weight of those words. He took a long breath and lifted his hand toward the core. The moment his hand moved, the blue light reached out like a soft liquid thread and wrapped around his fingers. The chamber dimmed as the core pulled him into a deep mental space. He stood on a platform of light surrounded by a vast, dark void. In front of him appeared thousands of shapes, like holograms of forgotten worlds and species he had never seen. The core showed him histories of civilizations rising and falling, battles that shook galaxies, and peaceful gardens built on strange planets. It showed memories of destruction, hope, betrayal, friendship, and survival. A soft voice echoed, not male or female, but something ancient and wise. Human, you carry a spark of rebellion and strength. You stand where many have fallen. Your kind fights even in darkness. Why do you come here? Adrian spoke with courage he did not fully feel. I came because people will die if I don't. Humans, Cathari, and others. I don't want power. I want peace. The ancient voice replied. Many said the same. Few meant it. Adrian placed a hand over his heart. I mean it. The void grew brighter, and for the first time, the core formed a shape in front of him. It looked like a tall being made of shining threads of light. Its voice now felt closer, almost like a whisper in Adrian's breath. If I link with you, your emotions, memories, and fears will not be hidden. Are you prepared for that truth? Adrian nodded slowly. Yes. A surge of energy cracked through the dark space. A wave hit Adrian's mind so hard he almost fell. But he stayed strong. Memories from his past flowed rapidly. His family, his childhood dreams, moments where he failed, and moments where he stood up again. He saw the people he wanted to protect, the soldiers who trusted him, and the friends who followed him till the end. The core accepted his memories, and then it released its own. The chamber outside shook as the link formed. Jonas held tightly onto the control panel as sparks flew from the cables. Lena shouted readings while trying to stabilize energy levels. Cassian opened energy shields to prevent the chamber from exploding. Hold on, Lena cried. Adrian is not losing control. The core is merging with his mind. Inside the mental world, Adrian felt the presence of the core settle inside him. His vision sharpened. He could see every memory the core had, every pathway of energy, and every hidden lock inside the ancient system. The core spoke again. You are the stabilizer. But the final decision remains. Will you release my power? Adrian closed his eyes. He saw the faces of his team. He saw humanity trying to survive in a cold universe. He saw the Cathari who feared extinction. He remembered every sacrifice made until now. I will release it, Adrian said softly. But not for destruction. Only to protect life. The void shattered into a brilliant storm of light. In the chamber, the core exploded with a bright flash but remained intact. A wave of blue energy spread across the planet, like a rising tide. The alien storm clouds broke apart. The sky cleared for the first time since their arrival. The energy field surrounding Meridian 6 stabilized, and the planetary system aligned itself peacefully. Jonas stared at the glowing chamber in disbelief. He did it. Adrian really did it. The core lowered slowly until it touched the floor. The glowing veins dimmed until they became a soft, peaceful light. Adrian opened his eyes. He looked exhausted but alive. Cassian approached him with genuine respect in his eyes. "You have done what even my ancestors could not," Cassian said. "Today, humans proved they are more than survivors." Adrian smiled weakly. "We did it together." Outside the chamber, humans and Cathari celebrated the end of the crisis. The sky had become clear and bright, painted with soft sunlight. For the first time, Meridian 6 felt like a living world, not a battlefield. Later that evening, the team gathered outside the base. The wind was calm, and a warm light spread across the horizon. Adrian looked at his friends. Jonas laughed and talked about rebuilding the colony. Lena watched the glowing sky with peaceful eyes. Cassian stood beside Adrian and said, "The universe will remember this day. You saved more than a world. You changed the future of our two species." Adrian looked at the sky again. "Then let's make sure the future is worth fighting for." Together, humans and Cathari began building a new chapter on Meridian 6. The ancient core rested quietly inside the chamber. Alive, but peaceful. It had chosen Adrian, and through him, it had chosen a path of unity. The journey had been long, painful, and full of danger. But in the end, humanity proved something powerful. They were not just survivors. They were builders of hope, and the galaxy, for the first time in a long age, began to open its arms to a new dawn.